about you being gone is I can watch the game all day long, and I can stretch my legs out in the bed, extra pillow underneath my head. I don't know why nobody ever told me about the upside of lonely. I got a lot more room for my stuff, and I only have to wash one cup. I can stay up late and play my guitar, and the groceries go twice as far. I don't know why nobody ever told me about the upside of lonely. Your girlfriends ain't ringing the phone off the wall. I never have to hear from that mother-in-law. Ain't cut the grass since the middle of June. I smoke a big cigar up in my living room. Don't know why nobody ever told me about the upside of lonely. Clothes right on the floor. Let the trash pile up right by the door. Eat pizza and ice cream 3 times a day, 'cause I ain't worried about watching my weight. I don't know why nobody ever told me about the upside of lonely. Yeah, man, just think about all the good things about you being gone. Stretch out here at home. Hey, man, come on in. Don't mind the muddy shoes on the white carpet. She ain't here. You hungry? Hey, man, I got some food if you want to eat. I got a microwave oven with little pictures on the front of it. You just pick what you want to eat and push the button, and it will cook it for you. Yeah, man, you can smoke that cigar up here in the kitchen. Just use that vase over there. Need something to drink? We got beer, bourbon, whiskey, scotch, Diet Coke, Fanta. Yeah, man, I bet you've been on the road for a minute. Bathroom's right down the hall. Switches on the left, doors on the right. Just remember to leave the lid up. Leave it up. Welcome everybody to our Wednesday night Facebook Live show. I'm your host Brian Nova, and it's great to have everybody joining us here on a lovely Wednesday night. We've got a great night planned ahead for you. We have with us, joining us in just a little bit, the great legendary Dan Levitin, New York Times best-selling author. He is considered probably the smartest man in the room by most circles. Award-winning neuroscientist, cognitive scientist, record producer, music producer, and songwriter. So we'll have lots to talk about with Dan in just a little bit. Here's a song from Dan was the producer on my last CD, Upside and Lonely, and this is one of the songs off of that, made famous by the great Nat King Cole, called Just You, Just Me. Just you, just me. Let's find a cozy spot to cuddle and woo. Just us, just we. I've missed an awful lot. My trouble is you. Oh gee, what are your charms for? What are my arms for? Use your imagination. Just you, just me. I'll tie a lover's knot around wonderful you. Just you, just me. Let's find a cozy spot, cuddle and woo. Just us, just we. I've missed an awful lot. My trouble is you. Whoa, gee, what are your charms for? What are my arms for? Use your imagination. Just you, just me. I missed an awful lot. I've missed an awful lot. I tie a lover's knot around wonderful you. Just you, just me. Anyway, what a great tune. Love it, love it, love it. Anyway, a couple of different housekeeping things to take care of. First and foremost, please check out our tip jar right here. PayPal.me, Brian Nova Music. It's always appreciated but never expected, but we could certainly use help here. So check it out right here on our PayPal. Just got to click on the link. Also, make sure you subscribe, and please tell all your friends to subscribe to us right here at YouTube. Share it, pass it around. We need subscriptions, folks, so spread the word for us, will you please? Thank you so much. Big shout out to some pals. Wow, George Ayton, he's a hearty hello from Tampa, Florida. Well, must be nice down there right now. Georgie, good to hear from you. Brother James, yeah, what's going on there, Brother James? And Bob Sky. Love you, Bob. Glad to have you here. John Connors, Good to see you. Speaking of John Connors, big hi to everybody over at the Vertigo Club tonight and all our pals over at the Churchill Room over on the east side. And of course, big shout out to Mirage Cigar Club down here in Rancho Mirage, California. And courtesy of Palm Desert Tobacco, tonight we are facing and looking at this lovely little bird, Arturo Fuente Don Carlos. We're going to smoke that to the nub here later on tonight, I can assure you of that. We've got some birthdays today. Today is, of course, the birthday of Johnny Mercer. Johnny Mercer. We also want to wish our dear pals Richard and Ann Britt a very happy anniversary today. It was, how many years ago was that, Miss Sonny? 4 years ago. Really? Just 4? Just 4 years. Man, how time flies. We were there, as a matter of fact, on that beautiful, lovely day in Laurel Canyon. So anyway, happy anniversary to both you guys. It is also my pal Ed Jones's birthday tomorrow. Eddie, I don't know if you're watching, but thinking about you, brother, up there in Seattle. Hope all's well with you. For our next song, goodbye. No use leading with our chins. This is where our story ends. Never lovers, ever friends. Goodbye. Let our hearts call it a day. But before you walk away, I sincerely want to say, I wish you bluebirds in the spring to give your heart a song to sing, and then a kiss. But more than this, I wish you love. And into July, a lemonade to cool you in some leafy glade. I wish you health and more than wealth. I wish you love. My breaking heart, and I agree that you should, I could never be. But my best, my very best, I set you free. I wish you shelter from the storm, a cozy fire to keep you warm. But most of all, when snowflakes fall, I wish you love. breaking heart, and I agree that you and I could never be. But with my best, my very best, I set you free. I wish you a shelter from the storm, a cozy fire to keep you warm. But most of all, when snowflakes fall, I wish you love. But most of all, when snowflakes fall, I wish you love. That's the chord I was looking for right there. I wish you love. One of my favorites. Hey, Dr. Steve, good to see you. Ron, good to see you too. Elizabeth. Hey, Liz, good to see you and Bob. Hope you guys are well up there and staying dry up in Seattle. And Eric all the way from Oakland, California. Oakland Stroke. All right. Mia, hey, Mia, good to see you too. And Auntie Marge, thank you for that. I love that song too. Well, listen, enough of the songs I like. I want to get to some of the people that I want to talk to, some of the folks I like. And one of my favorite folks on the planet is right here with us tonight. This gentleman here is, I can't brag enough about him because there's not enough superlatives out there to really put it all into perspective. But I can tell you that Dan is an award-winning neuroscientist, musician, and best-selling author. His research encompasses music. I wish I could speak English. Sorry, Dan. His research encompasses music, the brain, health, productivity, and creativity. He's published more than 300 articles and has been featured over 1,800 times in popular press. His four of his 6 books are New York Times bestsellers. We have pictures of those right out here, including This Is Your Brain on Music, The World in 6 Songs, The Organized Mind, and Successful Aging. As well as he's got The Changing Mind and A Field Guide to Lies. And I'm proud to say that I've read 4 of the 6 and working on number 5. And I tell you, it's mind-boggling to be reading this stuff. It's brilliant, brilliant work. You guys should check it out. These are available, of course, on Amazon, or any bookstore that you might do your book shopping at. He's toured with so many people, including Mel Torme, David Byrne, Roseanne Cash, Sting, Bobby McFerrin, and now he does a lot of work with Victor Wooten, which you will see in the not too distant future here on our show. And he is also producing consultant on albums from Stevie Wonder, Steely Dan, Joni Mitchell. I'm really losing it here tonight. I know. Took the wrong week to stop drinking here, folks. He's taught at many of the major universities and also has started his own, which we're going to talk about very soon. But I want to bring him in here. Enough bragging, because I know I'm just making him antsy. Anyway, let's bring in Dan Levitin here. Dan, you there?
I'm here.
There he is. I'm going to swap the screens on you here, Dan. Anyway, it is so great to have you here with us today. Thanks for taking some time and hanging out with us here.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, your screen looks like it's frozen. Is it frozen? Are you talking to me, or what's going on?
I'm talking, and it is frozen.
Well, I'll tell you, let's do this. I would like to show one of our videos here, and then we'll get your screen unfrozen, whatever it takes here. So let's do, there is a tune that you and I did a while back, one of our favorite songs by the great Chet Baker called Let's Get Lost. So let's take a listen to that. And, hey, Dan, are you back now?
I don't know, am I?
You are back. Wow, that was interesting enough. Good to have you back. Anyway, let's watch this video real quick, and we will be right back. Called "Let's Get Lost." Check it out.
Let's get lost in each other's arms. Let's get lost, let them send out alarms. And though they'll think us rather rude, we'll tell the world we're in a crazy mood. Let's get lost in a romantic mist. Let's get crossed off everybody's list to celebrate the night we found each other. Ooh, let's get lost. Let's get lost in a romantic mist. Let's get crossed off everybody's list to celebrate the night we found each other. Ooh, let's get lost. Ooh, let's get lost.
Yay! I love it. I love it. I love it.
There is no greater pleasure than playing with you.
The feeling is mutual.
There is no greater love.
So listen, what are you up to these days after 7 months, 8 months of sequestering? What does a world famous, brilliant neurosurgeon do to bide his time these days?
Neuroscientist, not a neurosurgeon.
Oh yes, neuroscientist. Sorry.
I have a little knife here, but I'm not allowed to use it. Well, there's musical stuff. There's science stuff going on. What do you want to hear about?
Well, let's hear about both. Let's start with the music stuff.
Well, when the lockdown started, I had COVID at the end of February, and I was out of commission until the end of March, and then everybody was locked in. And I thought I wanted to devote some time to getting reacquainted with my first instrument, the piano. Now, like you, well, actually, I don't know. I've seen you play the piano. I think for both of us, it's not really, we don't consider it our main instrument.
Let's just say no one would pay me a lot of money to play piano now.
People pay me a lot of money not to play the piano.
Yeah, right. That's pretty much where I'm at too.
But well, I mean, it's always been in my life, and I never took lessons, but I love the instrument. And I thought, if I'm going to be locked down for 6 months or 12 months, I want to set myself a challenge and use the time wisely. And so I thought, I'm not going to try to learn pieces that I could never play, like Rachmaninoff. I mean, that seems like too lofty or difficult a goal, but I'd like to relearn pieces that I played in my 20s that fit underneath the fingers, where the fingering doesn't provide a particular challenge, but the expressivity does.
Mm.
And there's a whole lot of pieces like that. There's Trois Je n'ai by Satie. I mean, just as an example, ba da 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 da. I mean, the fingering is straightforward. Anybody who's been playing piano for a year can play those fingerings, but making music out of it is not easy. Um,
No.
to make it really sing. There's the Prelude in E minor by Chopin, and there's Beethoven's Pathetique Sonata, at least the Adagio Cantabile movement, all very straightforward fingering. But I've spent every day since April working on. It took me a few weeks to get them back under my fingers because I hadn't played them in 30 or 40 years. But then that came together quickly. But I'm working on voicing and learning how to use the pinky in my right hand to press it down just a little
Yeah.
bit earlier and a little bit harder to help the melody sing. Learning to use Jeremy Dank, the great pianist, and as well as uh, Mari Kodama, another great concert pianist, gave me some advice and lessons on pedaling, which was always very mysterious to me. And it's just been wonderful. I like I say, it's when I was younger, it was about some sense that I had to be able to play something that was difficult. It was like gymnastics or something.
Sure. You're right.
But who cares about that? It's about finding the feeling. And there are moments in each piece now where I'm just lost, happily lost.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. And then how about book writing wise? Are you working on a new book or work?
Always working on a new book, but what's been interesting me for the last week is something that I know you're interested in. Um, there are a number of theories about the origins of music, the evolution of music. Why did humans start making music tens of thousands of years ago? And what adaptive problem did it solve? Usually, when we talk about evolution, we talk about evolution coming up with a solution to a problem. So opposable thumbs developed in primates. Basically, we think for two purposes: for throwing things like projectiles, and for clubbing. To be able to club something. And now we use opposable thumbs for all other kinds of things, like playing guitars and
Sure.
repairing watches and knitting. But they didn't evolve for that. We discovered those uses later. And there's a journal called Behavioral and Brain Sciences that is publishing soon an article that reviews the evidence for why music may have come about and what its early functions may have been. In this whole discussion, you have to realize that the kind of music we listen to today has nothing to do with the kind of music that people were making and listening to 100,000 years ago. I mean, you can't learn much by listening to Beyonce about evolutionary origins. But what you can learn from is the hundreds of pre-literate subsistence societies, indigenous peoples around the world who still don't know how to write, and you can see how they're using music. And we kind of assume that they're using it the way they always have, uninterrupted. And so this article is coming out, and a number of us in the field were asked to comment on it to provide our own perspective. So I've just been joyously immersed in the literature of biological evolution and music, and listening to musics from all over the world, these field recordings, reading the ethnographies, and I think I've got something new to say about it.
Oh man, I cannot wait to hear it. Hey, Leo Vigil just chimed in and said drums. First form of communication? Yes or no?
Possibly.
Awesome.
The problem with music is that there was no way to preserve the actual sound, of course, until about 150 years ago with the first piano rolls and then the Edison cylinders and so on. Um, the difference is if you look at like art, cave paintings, they stood, they've been around for 50,000 years. You can still see them. Steely Dan wrote a song about it, the Caves of Altamira.
Right, right.
But with music, all we have are musical instruments. And those don't reach back into the early reaches of human origins. The oldest musical instruments, though, we find tend to be drums and bone flutes and things like that. They're about 50,000 years old, which means music has been around for a long time, because we assume that before Og figured out how to take an obsidian arrowhead and carve precisely spaced holes in a piece of bone so he could play a pentatonic or quadratonic scale, he'd already been singing and banging on his chest and banging on drums. But we don't know. But when I hear Leo play, it does make me think that you don't need anything else.
You should be a politician. Well said, well said. Speaking of that, I was able to pull up a gem that I know you recorded a while back, not that long, maybe 6 months, 8 months ago. But it's one of your tunes, Just a Memory, that features our pal, Victor Wooten, who you've been touring with, Hardy Hemphill, our pal, and then Renee Fleming. So give us a little background on this video, if you would.
This is I think, I'm almost 63 years old, and you don't usually think of your 63rd year as like being your best year. Certainly when you're a kid, you're not thinking that that's going to happen. And this was one of the best things that ever happened to me. It was just so amazing. Renee Fleming, the great soprano, arguably one of the top sopranos in the world, of course, music director, artistic director at the Lincoln Center. The Kennedy Center, rather. She took an interest in music as medicine and music therapy and invited me to speak about it at the Kennedy Center a couple of years ago with some other neuroscientists and with some medical researchers in a kind of 2-day program. Our friend Edwin Outwater was there, new conductor at the SF's Conservatory, former assistant conductor to Michael Tilson Thomas, Charles Lim from San Francisco, Nina Kraus from Northwestern, and Renee. And we talked to an audience there at the Kennedy Center about the evidence that music can be used in an evidence-based way as medicine. We can ask Dr. Eric about his views on that later. But Renee and I hit it off, and she invited me to do a couple of other appearances with her, and in different settings. And once, when we were at the LA Opera doing a pre-concert talk, I gave her a copy of the CD that I put out in January and that Victor plays on and Andy Fraga plays on. And Victor and I toured it. I gave it to Renee, and she listened to it right there in the green room. And she was just so effusive and lovely, and really close your eyes and really listen to the whole thing. Who does that? And then a few months later, she called and she said, I'm doing a program at the Kennedy Center again. It's all virtual now because of the lockdown. Maybe you and I can do a little conversation about music and health. But she says, I really want to record one of your songs for this. I was uncharacteristically speechless. And we figured out which one. And I said, well, I'll send you a chart. And she says, no, I want you to play on it, and I want you to sing it. I said, I'm not going to. You're Renee Fleming. You should sing it. She says, no, I want to sing harmony. She says, I worked out a harmony part I really like, and I like your voice, and I want to sing with you. And she said, why don't you record a little basic track, and we'll add our parts to it. And so around that same time, the Music and Place folks, led by some of our friends, including Rod Merriamore, had gotten in touch with me and asked me if I wanted to do a Music and Place video, which was an effort. It's a philanthropy to support musicians whose tours got disrupted.
Right.
And
We have a little music in place here. Yeah. We those are the guys right there. Anyway, sorry.
it's a great philanthropy, and it's supporting mostly Bay Area musicians. I live part of the year in the Bay Area. Renee actually contributed $1,000 to it once she heard about it.
Bless her heart.
But so we talked about, well, Renee wants to do this song. I need to do a song for Music and Place. What if we joined forces? So we did. Hardy Hempel on keyboards, Bay Area musician. Victor Wooten on bass. And then Renee and I are singing. And we didn't record it live and synchronously because we were worried about lag. You know, with Renee in Washington, D.C. and me here, I worked out the speed of light calculations, and it would have been too long a round trip for the sound. You can do these kinds of live things if you're within about 600 or 800 miles of somebody. I was actually talking to Donald Fagen about this recently, and he's very fastidious about delay. And he can't tolerate a lag of more than 3 milliseconds. Most of us can tolerate 40. So that means that Fagen can't collaborate with anybody who's more than a couple of miles away, you know, in live. Anyway, we all recorded our parts separately, as you do. And I mixed them all together in my home studio. And then the Music and Place team made a video. We had recorded ourselves on our cell phones. The most gratifying thing I've ever done.
Well, we certainly love it. So, listen, guys, sit back and check out Dan, Victor, Renee, and Hardy doing Dan's composition of Just a Memory.
It's not clear. It's not clear. It's not clear. I got the news today that you were gone. Things could go so wrong, go so wrong. Oh, the salad days are in the past. We never knew that it wouldn't last. What's left behind is just a memory. Who we was then is not who we would be. The hole inside my head is filled with moss. The birds that lived inside it now are lost. Now are lost. Oh, they're lost. The leaves are turning yellow from the sun. Dead and dying seem to me just a memory. Who we were then is not what we came to be.
Wow, that was beautiful, Dan. Beautiful.
You know, you are partly responsible for this.
One more time, sorry, Dan.
You are partly responsible for this.
It was never my fault, but I have no idea what you're talking about here.
Well, look, I've been playing in bands since I was 20, and in every band I was in, every musician in it always told me, "Don't sing. You shouldn't be singing lead. You shouldn't be singing backup." And um, I loved singing. I kept doing it, and it never changed. You know, producers, professionals always told me don't sing. But some years ago, you told me I could sing, and we started singing and playing together. And you were really the first person I knew who liked the sound of my voice and wanted to play with me singing. And that encouraged me to actually record my record and then give it to Renee. And if you hadn't if you hadn't believed in me, I would have kept singing, but I wouldn't have let anybody hear it.
Oh man, that is so kind of you. Well, I do love your voice, and I love it when you sing. And I know you've even sang with our big band a couple of times, which I loved. We got to get more of that going on too.
I think we did Chattanooga Choo Choo.
We did Chattanooga Choo Choo, and we did another tune.
We did a Sinatra tune.
We did.
Jane, yes, the song is on iTunes. All my album is on iTunes and Spotify and Google Play, everywhere that you can get music, Apple Music, Amazon. And you know, for those of you who don't know Hardy Hemphill or Victor Wooten, they're like Brian Nova. They're stellar musicians who always play something tasteful. And they're not playing their instruments. They're not playing the notes. They're playing music, just like Brian, just like Leo. And in Hardy's case, he had extensive experience as the music director for Shania Twain's band, and is a great writer himself. And Victor, of course, started touring at the age of 5 as part of the backup band for Curtis Mayfield. And man.
Yeah, that's an amazing, impressive cast you have there. So, anyway, make sure you guys go check out on iTunes Dan Levington's new recording here. I got a couple questions for you from one of your books, Thinking Straight. And when we talk about things like information overload, this certainly seems like a time when many of us are suffering from information overload. Any suggestions how, as a captive audience in captivity, we can deal with some of this? I know.
Yeah, the problem is that there's always news coming out, and it's available instantly, and it's available 24/7. And our brains evolved in a world that was far simpler. Getting back to evolution, there just wasn't that much happening in the world 20,000 years ago. If there was a newscaster, a newscaster 20,000 years ago might have said, well, it looks like it might rain in a few days, and old Blurg over there broke his arm, and you right. You could get all the news that there was with one broadcast a week or even less. Now everybody with an iPhone is a broadcaster and a journalist, and there's Twitter. It's just you could fill your days with news. Now, the evolutionary part of this is that the brain evolved in this simpler time to attend to new information. In other words, those of our ancestors who actually paid attention to something new, like, oh, there's a new way to get to the well that I didn't know about before. Or there's a whole new well, that a whole new spring turned up. Those of our ancestors who noticed these things and delighted in learning tended to live better and longer than those who didn't notice these things. That trait was reinforced through evolution. And so all of us are descended from people who loved learning. And those who didn't love learning tended not to have descendants. And it goes without saying that we're all descended from somebody who successfully reproduced. There's not one person in your lineage, in your ancestry, who failed to reproduce. So, not in your direct ancestry. Yeah, right. So leaves us with a conundrum, which is that every time you read something on Twitter or every time you get a new thumbs up on Facebook or whatever it is, your brain gives you this little chemical reward. This is new, 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 and we get kind of addicted to that. So it's a problem. Internet addiction is now recognized by psychiatrists. And it can take an enormous amount of willpower and tricking yourself to get out of it. The same way it's as difficult to quit as smoking. Fortunately, the Chrome browser has a plugin you can get, and you can tell it, I don't want to spend more than an hour a day on Facebook, and it'll block it. I mean, you set the time forever. It doesn't have to be an hour. You set it for however long you want. Or it'll prevent you from just surfing. If you've got work that you need to do and you need to get information from your company website, it'll block every website except that for the hours that you tell it to. And I know a lot of people that you and I know together, whose names I shall not mention, who have had to do this.
Yeah, well, I'm going to put my name on that list as well. That is fascinating, yeah, of how through evolution we've sort of honed these skills, but now they're sort of flipping everything on its head.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Tell us more about successful aging, because I think that's what everyone wants to know about. What are some successful aging?
This book came out in
book. Let's show the book, honey.
Say it again?
The books. We're going to show the books here.
Oh.
So everybody can see what your book looks like.
So Successful Aging came out in January this year in hardback. Comes out in paperback at the end of December at half the price, same book. The Changing Mind is actually the same book. It's just that in the British market, they wanted a different title. I don't know why, but it says in tiny print, previously published as. But I've learned that my publisher is an expert in these kinds of things, and I'm not, so.
Sure. Let them do what they do best, sort of thing.
And I wrote the book because neuroscience had learned quite a bit in the last 10 years about what we can do to better position ourselves at any age to be happy and productive and healthy and to be able to live long and healthy lives. And there are things we can do to minimize the chance that we'll get Alzheimer's, or if we get it, to minimize the chance that we'll actually notice or that the people around us will notice, to push off the overt symptoms. And also, the neuroscience literature shows that the societal narrative we have about what it means to be old is largely wrong. Old age does not need to be a time of depression and irrelevance and great memory loss. None of those things are inevitable. Of course, some people experience them. But on the whole, older adults are happier. the peak age of happiness across the world is 82
82.
in 70 different countries. And that was 5 years ago. I imagine that the numbers crept up since then, and that it's only ageism that keeps it lower than 90, meaning that older adults often are not revered in their communities, but in the communities where they are, in Japanese culture, in indigenous cultures, those who venerate older adults, in the professorship, those who value the experience of older adults, those cultures have more people over the age of 100 than any other culture. Being valued is an important part of being healthy, feeling valued. And then there's the myth of memory decline. We all forget things. You walk into a room, you don't remember why you went there, can't remember where you left your glasses. You can do little tricks like I do. I put these little old person ropes around them so they're always with me. And I make sure that when I take them off, I put them right here. And I've got these are the good ones, the prescription ones. I have some $10 drugstore ones by the bed and in the kitchen and in the car. But the reality is 20-year-olds forget just as much as 75-year-olds. They just tell themselves a different story. My college students are losing their cell phones, forgetting their computer passwords, losing their dorm room keys, every bit as much as my father, who's 88, is losing his glasses and forgetting his passwords and stuff. But when my dad does it, he calls me and he says, "Am I getting Alzheimer's?" When a 20-year-old does it, they don't call me. They just figure they drank too much last night or they're not getting enough sleep.
That's
Different stories, same behavior.
Interesting. Well, I'll have to check in on what my stories are. I've always got an excuse for something, leaving something somewhere. Poor Masoni's always having to try to figure out where I left keys. Glasses.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
How many songs could you play by heart? If you had to generate a playlist and you just kept playing, how long could you play without stopping and without looking at music?
Are we talking about lyrics as well, singing along with playing, or just playing the melody?
Oh, it's just say melody. Let's make it easy.
Melody.
I mean, you can include the lyric ones in it, but yeah.
800 maybe? 1,000?
And if there was somebody in a bar or at a wedding calling him out, I bet that number would double or triple, because you'd hear a song and you'd go, "Oh yeah, I know that one."
Well, they might have to for me to get to 800 or 1,000. I mean, it's like telling jokes for me. It's sort of like, it's always in recall. And so well, for instance, I'll read, every once in a while I'll pick up a Billboard magazine or something, and they'll show like the songs from 1963. Or even more so, I'll grab some of the old fake books. I must have 70 or 80 fake books, which for those listening out there, fake books are what musicians use to play tunes together in the same keys, and they're not the actual sheet music, but that's why they call them fake books.
And a lot of the chords are wrong.
Many of the chords and melodies are wrong, actually, but at least it gives you a ballpark to play to. But I would look through the table of contents of the titles, and of course, I probably know 4 out of every 6 tunes that I saw, but I wouldn't have thought of those tunes until I saw the title and thought, "Oh yeah." Or if I look under, for instance, Johnny Mercer's birthday's today, so I think of Johnny Mercer tunes.
And I'll bet beyond that, if you had heard a song and never played it, I'll bet there's another 1,000 you could fake your way through.
Maybe, yeah.
That's something, isn't it?
I know. I can remember all that, but I can't remember like who I played with music with 30 days ago. If I had played music 30 days ago, but it's amazing the things that we retain and the things we don't. And you could probably explain to me why.
What's that?
I said, I know you could explain to me why I'm doing this, why I'm able to do one and not the other?
Well, basically, the primary principle of memory is you tend to remember best the things you care about the most, the things that you have the most emotional attachment or emotional experience with. You remember the emotional events of your life better than the factual events, usually, if you're like everyone.
Well, I remember reading
This
one of
idea,
your books about recall too, of how we recall stuff like colors. I think you mentioned where it's easier to remember red than it is to remember non-colors.
right, the simple colors, the basic colors. Yeah, our memory tends to average things out. So if you have a bunch of reds around, scarlet, crimson, maroon, uh, candy apple, all the different reds, and then you have to remember them later, your memory kind of takes the shortcut and just at some point encodes them all as red, not
colors.
necessarily as the specific part, kind of red. And we kind of do that with music. It seems as though, in a somewhat analogous way, if you've heard a bunch of different versions of a song, um, a song that's been covered a lot, you're gonna tend to remember a kind of average of the versions, and maybe not even one particular version. Your brain will average it all together. And another thing about music is that there's evidence that when you memorize a piece, you're not actually remembering you're not storing in memory every single note, you're storing the important ones. So if there's somewhere in a melody, if there's a run up a scale, you're not going to remember actually every single note because you know the scale. You remember where you start, you remember where you end. And then when you go to play, your brain fills it in at that moment.
Wow. It's sort of like I've seen pictures where they'll take the first and last letter of a word and jumble up the middle words or the letters, and then they'll put a sentence together, and you can actually read it. But it's because we're just looking at the context and the front letter. Must be the.
You should have been a neuroscientist.
I wish I had have been. I know I can tell you definitely playing jazz music is a whole nother. I don't know if I'd do it all over again. I certainly wouldn't wish it on anybody. That's for sure. Hey, listen, speaking of jazz music, I got one more video I want to lay on everybody here. It's you and I again doing a wonderful tune called Beautiful Love.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We both have an affinity for that tune, and you don't hear a lot of cats doing it anymore.
No, we don't. No, you don't. No. So check this out. Dan singing, yours truly playing Beautiful Love.
Beautiful love, you're all a mystery. Beautiful love, what have you done to me? I was contented till you came along, thrilling my soul with your song. A beautiful love, I've roamed your paradise, searching for love, my dreams to realize, reaching for heaven, depending on you. Beautiful love, my dream come true.
was contented till you came along, thrilling my soul with your song. Beautiful love, you're all a mystery. Beautiful love, what have you done to me? I'm reaching for heaven, depending on you. A beautiful love, my dreams come true. A beautiful love, my dreams come true.
Yay! By the way, Ellington wants to say hi to Uncle Dan.
Hello.
Oops, we lost him there. Yep. Anyway, Dan, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the show today, man. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always so much fun to see you and talk with you and play with you.
Listen, make sure, folks, you guys go out and check out the books. There are plenty of them to check out, and check out Dan's music on iTunes. And if you get lost, just go to danlevington.com, right?
Let's get lost.
Let's get lost. All right, Dan. We'll talk to you soon. Say goodbye to Uncle Dan.
Bye, Ellington.
See you, Dan. We'll talk soon. What a treat having Dan here with us. And what a treat having... Oh, there's a puppy cam. There we go. Can you say hi to the puppies? No. There it is. There he is. Hey, anyway, folks, we want to thank everybody for joining us today on a lovely Wednesday. We want to remind you to go check out Uncle Larry's Dunlap's Cave, 7 p.m. on Facebook Live. Hey, thank you, Jane, for liking the show and asking the great questions. Thank you, Liz, and John Connors. Good to hear from you. So we are going to maybe we could do the Missoni cam, honey. Can we do the Missoni cam here? Big thank you to the lovely Missoni, who's been helping us out background here and keeping us a very happy show. I think he's sleeping already. What's that?
There he is.
Anyway, folks, hope you have a great week. Hope everything goes well. Remember to stay kind out there. Be grateful for what we have. Things are going to get better. And remember, if things start to get you down, things get a little shaky out there. Remember to keep it swinging. Take care.